Hi, Robbie. How are you?
I'm good. I'm supposed to be a tall blonde man named Chris, right?
You
Obviously.
are. No, I am so sad that they came for you. I mean, your back was low-key up against the wall since day one. I felt like people were already intimidated by you. Do you think it was just like your confidence, your beauty? I mean, that's what I think.
Do you? Because I still don't get it. I remember just seeing the last episode. I was like, I just don't get why I was such a threat to everybody. And there was like a comment that Xavier made during the last episode I just saw where when he was up for elimination two times, he was like, "Oh, I'm so glad Robbie's up there because she's a bigger threat than me and Nina and everyone combined." And I'm like, "But X, you won Big Brother. I don't even understand it." I think the issue maybe just came down to the fact that I won the first challenge and I always had a target on my back to begin with from that moment, which is so unfortunate. I wish that challenge happened a little bit later. So I was always like fighting that uphill battle the whole time. But I did try to stay under the radar and not overly say too many things. And I thought me not like disclosing that I was a poker player, got away with kind of being not being dice at the end there, like except when Tyrina got eliminated. So there was like certain aspects of it. I'm like, I just wanted to be there a little bit longer just to fight for it until the end. But I did know that it was starting to get a little bit grim. New people are coming in. They're getting a little bit of feedback on who the stronger contenders are. And they had the opportunity to be anonymous this week because we really
Yeah.
just don't know them enough to associate them with their handles very well. So obviously you could tell that they do a very good job with that. And I knew that I'd be in a lot of trouble if one of the anonymous if the anonymous ended up being one of the new guys.
And it was Victoria. And I think she was just threatened. I mean, I think that she wanted to kind of play the flirt card. You were her biggest competition. I mean, what is it like watching or like finding out who voted you out after, like once you get eliminated?
So I was very comforted. When I already kind of knew, I didn't think when I was like up for because I was only up for elimination by one person.
Mm,
And that's like a big part of the show is that all it takes is one vote to be
mhm,
eliminated. And so that's like the whole dichotomy that makes it so unfortunate. That Chris has like five votes, I have one, and there I am,
mhm.
I'm the next person to leave. And Casey experienced the same thing as well. So for me, I just thought that like we came into the show with the whole idea of thinking that we were just gonna have to like deal with the contestants to begin with. When I did find out that it was Victoria, like who did it, all I was happy about was that it wasn't one of the people that I was in alliance with.
Mm.
I knew that when Andy was saved, he was the first person to be saved, that it was probably going to be me. I just had this feeling that because Andy was saved, the person's strategy tonight is to get rid of one of the threats, and the last four remaining after Andy were the biggest threats in the house, according to everybody. So I was like, and I already kind of knew that for whatever reason, I was considered even a bigger threat than that. And I remember thinking, well, Victoria really connected with Chris. So
Mhm.
that's one of the three people that is probably good be anonymous tonight. So my chances are looking pretty low here. Then
Yeah.
it was just me and Chris. I just had this like gutted feeling that I was the one that was gonna go home. I just knew it. And I think you see it in my face. So
Hmm.
I'd already like in my head been deciding what my exit strategy or my exit speech was gonna be. And yeah, I'm just kind of relieved that it was a new person and not somebody that I was in alliance with, because I think I would have taken that personal. I knew
For
that with the
sure.
alliance, it would have to come out with me at some point, but more so near the end, not right now. So I was very relieved that it was a new person like I had thought it was. And yeah, probably a good strategy on Victoria to get rid of me because I would have probably won it.
Yeah, absolutely. You would have 100%. How do we feel
So
about this twist? I mean, even as a viewer, I'm frustrated because I'm like, we just got rid of three people. We're getting down to it. You know what I mean? We're on our way there. Like, how did you kind of feel when new people came in? Were you surprised?
I was, I thought like, are they going to bring new people? I think I was a little bit more surprised that we had to change our handles, although I was
Mm.
definitely ready to do that since my handle just
It was
got
so
added.
controversial.
Yeah, I was like, okay, that's not going to work out. So I was happy to do that. I I wasn't crazy about it. And I think that like there was like something that just kind of dropped in the pit of my stomach when the new people came. And I don't know that I did the very best that I could have to really connect with them. When Wayne told me he was from Las Vegas, I believe, or from Nevada, I was like, ooh, I can't get too close to him. He might know who I am. And it's like it's so interesting because he lives there, but he doesn't play poker. And I was like, oh, thank goodness, right? So then like with Victoria, I didn't have the opportunity to talk to her as much as I would have. I was even surprised she picked me for the challenge.
Mhm.
And of course, like looking back at it now, that was a strategy and an angle on her end. And she did a very good job of remaining anonymous that night. And so that was pretty impressive. And I'm not surprised that she did pick me. And again, I think that was the best strategy ultimately for her.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would pick her if I was ever the anonymous, but I could see where her angle was that I was her competition at that point, and here was her
Yeah.
opportunity to get rid of me.
Well, that was my next question is who would you have picked if you were the anonymous? Let's just say like the last round, like who would have been your first pick?
So there's two sides of like the strategy for people, right? And you continue to see that through the episodes. There's those that believe that we should get rid of the biggest threats, and then
Hmm.
those that believe that we should get rid of the weakest link. For me, I would, if it was up to me, I would have to reevaluate who has contributed to the prize pool the least. And in the beginning, it would be about getting rid of the weaker players and not so much the threats. The threats are what I want to be up against at the end because the threats are the ones that are actually contributing to the prize pool.
For sure. And also the threats can keep you safe if people think there's more threats than you. But everyone has their own version of what a threat is. It's like who threatens you the most, and that could be
Yeah,
different for everyone. I
yeah.
want to know what you think about Jack watching the show. He's been the anonymous a couple of times. I feel like he's getting a winner's edit, if we can call it that, and he's just kind of giving main character. I mean, what do you think watching him?
I was so impressed with the way that he played everything out. And like my mouth dropped when I heard his angle going against Andy. And of course, that's what saved him from being outed as like who, like his anonymous handle or his handle in the back. And I just remember thinking like 2 times in a row, this is so crazy. I never
Mhm.
anticipated that the anonymous could potentially be 2 times in a row. And there were some people that had already disclosed that they felt that it was Tyrina 2 times in
Mm,
a row. I never put it as Jack. He did an amazing job of covering that. And Jack is just one of those guys. He's a very likable personality, but like you could see that his brain is thinking. And
mhm.
there is somebody that I'm trying to think of who said it, but they're kind of like, I feel like Jack might be somebody to watch out for. And they were right. I can't remember who it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
But like, yeah, I'm not surprised that Jack was the anonymous 2 times in a row. I wouldn't be surprised if he won the whole thing. I guess we're gonna
Not at
find out.
all. I
Yeah.
mean, the only reason I would be surprised is because he's getting such a winner's edit that I feel like maybe the editors are trying to throw us off.
That's actually an interesting perspective. That is
Yeah.
very
I
true.
feel like with reality TV, like maybe the last few years, like they've been hiding the winner, like they edit them down up until the
Yeah.
end, and then they come in stronger the last few episodes to kind of shock people.
Oh, interesting. So I'm wondering who you think it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's too soon to tell. I think Jack is my obvious pick right now, but like you just never know what's going to happen towards the end.
Yeah, yeah. And with the new people, like now you really got to watch out and see like how good they are and how long they kind of last. But
For sure.
I would be really surprised to see any of the new people kind of making it all the way to the end. Like by end, I'm saying like maybe final 3 or 4. I just feel like for whatever reason, there's some really strong competition in that house that
Hmm.
was there from the beginning. So
Yeah.
I mean, like my thought process is like I'm thinking it's like down to like 3 or 4 people. Like again, for me, I think either the stronger will survive or the weaker will. So I think we're gonna see like a half and half. That's just my guess on the whole take because I actually don't even know what happens.
Yeah.
But I
Okay.
do now know that the person who eliminated me was not somebody that was I was in alliance with, and I am relieved about that.
For sure.
Um, and I'll just win another one another day. So
Yeah. Who are you closest to in the house, and who are you rooting for moving forward?
like I like there's nobody I would say I was the closest to. I think I trusted X the most, and I would probably say that it would be him. Yeah, it was definitely.
Really?
He was my bunk buddy, and we were like he was the first one I had met, and I just connected with him the most. So he was definitely the one that I was closest to. So as you could see, we were very much strategizing on how we were going to try to get our people to be there at the end. And it worked. It worked, right? So our strategy did work. He was the anonymous when we had
Hmm.
planned on making sure it was at least one of us, and he did get rid of who he felt was the person to leave that day, which is Tyrina.
Yeah. X is Xavier, so that's just like a nickname.
Yeah, that's his nickname.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we only have a minute left, so before I let you go, I want to hear about your job as a poker player. Can you kind of give us a little bit more context about like what you do and how you got started in that?
For sure. Well, funny enough, like as a poker player, I didn't it, like if you've ever seen any of the poker players that have ever been on these reality type shows, they never really make it far. And
Mm,
this show being like a show about deception, my whole goal going in, and it was like something I really battled for a couple of weeks. It's like, do I say who I am or do I pretend to be somebody else? And I do think that it did work, not against me, but for me. ultimately you find out that like even Marcel could associate me with who I am, but that was
Mhm.
only when he's like, oh my gosh, that is you. So I'm
Mhm.
really glad I didn't say that I was a poker player right away. So I'm glad I didn't say that. I don't know. There's some people that feel differently, but long story short, my career kind of happened after my biopharmaceutical career. I started actually playing poker later in life than most of these other poker nerds.
Mm.
So I have a totally different perception of poker. And then I had a situation that went totally viral. And it kind of catapulted me into the poker industry really fast. And I made a name for myself really quickly from that point forward. And I'm at this place where I don't know why the reality TV shows love poker players, and I had a lot of opportunities, and this is ultimately the one I decided to go on. It just kind of really fit the bill, and I just wanted to go as far as possible on it. I love my
Mhm.
poker career. I'm really right back into it,
Yeah.
um, and unfortunately, the skill set that it takes to be a good poker player didn't really translate into this particular show. I didn't have enough chance to kind of show my true colors. I didn't even have a chance to play the face off, like the one
Yeah.
time that I could actually be show what I can do. But I'm right back at it. I love what I do.
Well, they would have figured you out if you said you were a poker player just because the dice.
Yeah.
They would have gave
Well,
it
so I
away.
only picked dice because I knew that I hadn't said. So it's kind of like one of those funny things. Like it was like kind of like an internal joke that I knew that I was dice. Ultimately, when I do say what my handle is, it makes sense to
Yeah.
everybody. I would have picked dice, and I loved being dice. But I did not think that I gave any dice vibes until except one time where I was like, I think I outed myself by being like, "Poor Robbie isn't safe anymore." Again, if I had just said a little bit less, it was so hard for me not to say as much as I had said. I think I would have probably not like outed myself too early, and maybe I could have been the anonymous a little bit sooner.
Mm.
I thought I got pretty close being the anonymous, but you have to be anonymous.
Yeah, and it seems impossible to be the anonymous, honestly, to guess everybody. Like that seems so hard.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for chatting and sharing a little bit about your time on the show. I really appreciate it. Where can everybody find you and follow you?
Oh my gosh. So it's Robbi Jade Lew on literally all of my social media platforms. No E, guys. No E after the Robbie. It's Robbi. My middle name is Jade, and then Lew. And so it's just on Instagram, Twitter, all of it. It's the exact same name.
I love it. I'll have your link down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Awesome.
Bye,
Thank you.
Robbie.
Nice to meet you.
You too.